What is going on, guys? We've got a White House press briefing right after the one we did yesterday with special guest JD Vance. So you got to mention market on what JD Vance is going to say and what Caroline's going to say. I've got no positions because I just woke up. But we're gonna make some money on this one for sure. Supposedly this is just about it's gonna be mainly ice in Minneapolis shooting. What's up, Nick? It's gonna be about Minneapolis completely. So what percentage is it JD, isn't it Caroline? They're both, ICE is bonded for both of them. Biden way too cheap. On JD or Caro? Biden's 62 for JD, 57 for Caroline. I really just don't know. It's gonna be supposed to. Oh, we should pull up. That's a good point. We should pull up. How late? How long? How long will Caroline? Oh, they don't have it up. That's interesting. They don't have a new one for this one. That sucks. I think JD Biden, yeah, would be decent. I didn't get those heads. I like Biden here. Biden, JD Vance. So we got him to mention Biden. What the hell? Do I have it or not? I do have it. I've got JD to say Biden. I like that. If we're gonna be talking about the Minneapolis shooting at all, Minnesota, we can get to the Biden area. Minneapolis shooting. Let me think. ICE, obviously. Terrorists? Are they really gonna call that woman a narco terrorist? That'd be crazy. Narco terrorist driving the car. I don't know.
Rob's not coming in Greenland days? No, Lake Shore. So get a head start.
I guess I would like childcare, not healthcare. I would like
There's
childcare.
nothing green about it.
There's no strike.
Pimento cheese. They're doing that now.
Maybe it's just farm that's Caroline, right? On those. Self-defense.
When would you like me?
Is Kara going to be the one talking about the incident? Does that make sense? Maybe if she says some self-defense. There's literally a strike for her to say
Pimento
self-defense.
cheese and ham.
But not for JD.
Did you ever enjoy a pimento cheese sandwich from Augusta National Tournament?
Did Kara say Somali in the last one? Is he even a strike?
It was crazy.
It wasn't even a strike.
They're wrapped.
Kara, I'm doing an intro recap because then JD comes to speak a little bit questions. And then there are questions at Kara and JD.
Falls out of the basket.
So then I would bet Kara describes the Minneapolis shooting.
All the sandwiches
JD
are
might then describe
I used to love going there. So
how's up Gavin Newsom? Is he gonna be talking? No. Not yet. That was supposed to happen at 10 a.m. He did say Somali in the last one.
even if you don't like golf, bizarre, it's a bizarre thing to see. You get to the course,
I don't know for JD.
when you get on the course,
I'm trying to figure out my head.
no bugs,
Look, don't know.
there's no squirrels.
Kara speaks first. Wants something to happen.
I've always thought the topic of the birds and
Talks about
bladed crabs,
it's on Twitter. Fraud.
it's just
JD will say fraud.
there's no running, there's no foul language. You don't have your iPhone.
Well, Caroline to say fraud's on 50. Maybe thinking
Ball cap,
the way more than JD Vance to
Marshall's. There's no step out of line.
Video loud. I'm thinking JD might be the one to go off on the wall situation, on the fraud. And then Caro covers Minneapolis, the ice shooting, sorta. I'm guessing the ice shooting is the first thing they're gonna cover, straight out the bat. She might call it self-defense, Caro. And then she would say an ICE agent shot a narco-terrorist in self-defense. It was an illegal alien radical left that wanted Greenland not annexed. It was complete fraud. And then JD might just go on a Somali rant. I don't know. Way better, right? I'm thinking about Somali no for JD just because in the last interview he did yesterday, he did hit Somali, but he was like forced to, if that makes sense. Jesse Waters was like asking him about Somalians, so. Do we think he gets a Somali specific question today? Maybe. I'm gonna be honest. I would, if I'm Somali and I'm experiencing all this situation with the President of the United States coming after my community, and I got a chance to ask the Vice President a question, I might ask, hey, why are you specifically targeting Somalians when this fraud is countrywide? And then he would say Somali in his answer. I would like that. I think he gets a question specific to Somali, at least. That would be my thinking. Like, you're covering fraud. I mean, of course, there's always the included chance that he just mentioned Somalis in general when talking about fraud. Calls it Somali fraud. But Somali no for Caro? Because she will probably just talk about the Minneapolis shooting as the thought. Stock market? The stock market hit all-time lows after that shooting? No way. No way she says that. No Somali for Caro is decent. I'll do that. No Somali on Caro. Yes Somali on JD. JD covers the wall situation. Caro might not. Caro might cover the Minneapolis shooting, and JD Vance might not. Is my thinking. And I'm gonna go no Greenland on Caro too. Because I'm guessing if they get a Greenland question, they're gonna ask JD about it. Because Caroline yesterday, when asked about Greenland, kind of referred it basically to the president of the United States. So what is she likely to do if JD Vance is standing right there and they get a Greenland question? She might just let JD answer it. So I'll ride that. I'll ride with that. We'll go no Somali here on Caro. Alright, no Somali. No Greenland. I like no Greenland. I want to be forever young. Greenland. No Greenland. Just thinking about the strikes that aren't to do with the Minneapolis shooting. Everyone wants to ask questions of VP, not press secretary. Yeah, especially about Greenland. Like, that was... Who cares? If you're going to ask a Greenland question, wouldn't you ask it to JD Vance? It's not like Caroline Leavitt has any prior information, you know? She doesn't have anything privy that the vice president might have on the acquisition of Greenland, so... I would just say, like, no on the basis that people want to ask JD Vance questions. That's what I would do if I was here, respectfully, to my queen, Caroline. Is I would probably be like, hey, this question's for JD. This question's for JD. What do you think about Sleepy Joe? Good question. Good question, reporter. California? Oh, I do love this California strike. What was it? Damn, I didn't know this existed. I would love California on JD Vance. Dude, he's doing this at the same time Gavin Newsom's doing his State of the State address. Like, him and Gavin are beefing. They are beefing ahead of 2028. He announced on Jesse Waters yesterday that they're going to look into California for fraud. California is the next state that they're going to go into. Like, bro, give me California. Please give me Cali. Don't penny jump me. Or do. I don't care. But I will take California for JD Vance to say. I'm saying JD Vance is going to go after his political rivals. I've got yes Biden and yes California. He's going to go after Biden and he's going to go after Newsom. Peace, peace, peace. Here we go. Someone's walking in the room. Let's go. No one gonna film me on this? That sucks. That sucks. No one's gonna film me on that California, are they? Here we are. Hello, Caro.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
Let me be clear. President Trump and his entire administration stand fully behind the heroic men and women of ICE and will always uphold
Nice. Let's bring up Caro.
law and order in the United States of America.
She is
The deadly
self-defense.
incident that took place in Minnesota yesterday occurred as a result of a larger, sinister, left-wing movement that has spread across our country, where our brave men and women of federal law took place in Minnesota yesterday occurred as a result of a larger, sinister, left-wing
Get the
movement
playback speed
that has spread
going.
across our country, where our brave men and women of federal law enforcement are under organized attack. Right now, immigration and customs enforcement officers are facing a 1,200% increase in assaults,
All right, just
a
go hit Somali.
3,200% increase in vehicle rammings, and an 8,000% increase in death threats. ICE agents are faithfully enforcing federal law to protect the safety of the American people by removing criminal illegal aliens from our country,
Illegal aliens. You couldn't have hit that on the last
which is
one,
exactly what nearly
Sarah,
80
why'd
million
you wait a
Americans
day?
elected
I had
President
illegal
Trump
aliens in the
and
last
Vice
one.
President J.D. Vance to do. Radicals in the Democrat Party are furious over this. They don't want our border secured or criminal
radical
illegal
left.
aliens being removed. As a result,
Wow.
Democrats are impeding immigration enforcement operations
radical left.
daily, creating extremely heightened and dangerous circumstances that make it nearly impossible for the men and women of law enforcement to simply do their jobs. Democrats are calling to defund federal law enforcement agencies who are protecting public safety. And Democrats are calling to abolish ICE and defund the police. That will never be allowed to happen under this president and vice president. The Trump administration will redouble our efforts to get the worst of the worst, criminal illegal alien killers, rapists, and pedophiles off of American
Whoa.
streets. The Department of
Pedophile.
Homeland
Who knew
Security
that
will
one?
continue to operate on the ground
Wow,
in
they've
Minnesota,
increased the
not
level.
only to remove criminal
We're up to
illegal
pedophiles
aliens,
now.
but also to continue conducting door-to-door investigations of the rampant fraud that has taken
Yeah.
place in the state under the
It's her
failed
fraud.
and corrupt leadership of Democrat Governor Tim Walz. Taxpayers have been
shout out
ripped off
Walz,
to the
too.
tune of billions of dollars in this one
she
state
keeps going
alone,
after no
and
fraud.
that is going to end, and people are going to be held accountable.
Don't say
The Trump
Somali.
administration has activated thousands of federal agents, doubled the number of U.S. attorneys in the DOJ office in
Don't say
Minneapolis,
Somali, Kara.
and surged resources to hold fraudsters accountable
Fraud
and demand
terrorists.
justice for law-abiding American taxpayers and citizens across our country. And that's what brings the Vice President out here with me
Yep.
today to discuss all the Trump administration is doing and to make an additional important announcement on this front. So please, Mr. Vice President, will be joining us now.
All right, I got some California there. All right, JD.
Great. Well, good afternoon, everybody. And I want to echo some of what Carolyn said about what we're doing to combat the rampant fraud that exists in our immigration system, thanks to failed politicians and thanks to people who allowed the American taxpayer to be taken advantage of for far too long. I think it's important to understand why this matters to the American people. I am a father of 3 young kids, a lot of kids, a lot of people in my generation. What is that going on there? Is that normal? Okay. CNN installed this broken camera just to throw me off my game, but it's not going to work. So
Fake
here's the
camera.
simple fact here. If you're a
sounds
young
annoying.
parent struggling to afford childcare in the United States of America, there are programs that we have to make it easier
gonna
for
say
your kids
laws,
to
huh?
get in daycare, for your kids to get in preschool. Those programs should go to American citizens, not be defrauded by Somali immigrants and others. Make it hard
Somali!
for you to get
For-
the access
for
to the
JD.
resources you need. But number 2, making it easier for people who shouldn't even be in this country to fleece the United States and our taxpayers to begin with. We have actually activated a major interagency task force to make it possible to get to the heart of this fraud. We have Department of Agriculture resources that are focused on SNAP fraud so that people who need
Seen
food
that fraud
benefits
in
can
Cali.
get them, but illegal aliens and other
Illegal
fraudsters
aliens.
don't. We have over 1,500 subpoenas
right
the
in
Department of
between.
Justice has issued to get to the heart of the fraud ring. We've done almost 100 indictments, mostly Somali immigrants, but also a few others. And of course, we're looking in with broad investigatory authority to a number of the instances of wrongdoing that we've seen in Minneapolis. But we also want to expand this. We know that the fraud isn't just happening in Minneapolis, it's also happening in states like Ohio. It's happening in states like California. And so what we're doing in order to help coordinate this remarkable interagency effort from the Trump administration, but also to make sure that we prosecute the bad guys and do it as swiftly and efficiently as possible, is we are creating a new Assistant Attorney General position who will have nationwide jurisdiction over the issue of fraud. Now, of course, that person's efforts will start and focus primarily in Minnesota, but it is going to be a nationwide effort because, unfortunately, the American people have been defrauded in a very nationwide way. I want to thank a couple of people for their cooperation, in particular Pam Bondi, our Attorney General, first of all, for getting a lot of resources to Minneapolis to start to investigate and prosecute this fraud, really at an industrial scale. We've never seen fraud like this in the history of our country. Pam has been doing a great job to get the resources there to uncover it, but importantly, creating a job like this often takes months, sometimes even longer. When we realized that we needed this Associate Attorney General position, Pam got this person up and running in about a week. We're going to make the nomination hopefully in the next few days. We'll obviously let you guys know who that is when we do it. I've talked to Senate Majority Leader John Thune, who has promised me swift confirmation for this official, but this is the person who is going to make sure that we stop defrauding the American people. Here's one final thing I'll say about this. I've heard a lot of people say that we need a special counsel to investigate fraud in the United States of America. I actually agree, and that's what this position does. It has all the benefits, all the resources, all the authority of a special counsel, but with two crucial differences. Number one, it will be run out of the White House under the supervision of me and the President of the United States. And number two, it's actually constitutionally legitimate. As you guys may know, the special counsel statute has some major constitutional questions. When we get the bad guys, we want to make sure we get them permanently and they don't have some legal technicality they can get out of, which is why we set it up as an Associate Attorney General. I'll take some questions, but I want to make just one final observation here. When I was actually walking out here, somebody sent me a photo of a CNN headline about what happened in Minneapolis. And this is the headline. I'm just going to read it. Outrage after ICE officer kills U.S. citizen in Minneapolis. Well, that's one way to put it, and that is the way that many people in the corporate media have put this attack over the last 24 hours. And I say attack very, very intentionally, because this was an attack on federal law enforcement. This was an attack on law and order. This was an attack on the American people. The way that the media, by and large, has reported this story has been an absolute disgrace, and it puts our law enforcement officers at risk every single day. What that headline leaves out is the fact that that very ICE officer nearly had his life ended, dragged by a car 6 months ago, 33 stitches in his leg. So you think maybe he's a little bit sensitive about somebody ramming him with an automobile? What that headline leaves out is that that woman was there to interfere with a legitimate law enforcement operation in the United States of America. What that headline leaves out is that that woman is part of a broader left-wing network to attack, to dox, to assault, and to make it impossible for our ICE officers to do their job. If the media wants to tell the truth, they ought to tell the truth that a group of left-wing radicals have been working tirelessly, sometimes using domestic terror techniques to try to make it impossible for the President of the United States to do what the American people elected him to do, which is enforce our immigration laws. The President stands with ICE. I stand with ICE. We stand with all of our law enforcement officers. And part of that is recognizing that you people in the media, not everybody in this room, but many people in this room have been lying about this attack. She was trying to ram this guy with her car. He shot back. He defended himself. He's already been seriously wounded in law enforcement operations before, and everybody who's been repeating the lie that this is some innocent woman who was out for a drive in Minneapolis when a law enforcement officer shot at her, you should be ashamed of yourselves. Every single one of you. Questions?
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. I wanted to read a quote from Tim Walz earlier today. He said, "When things looked bleak, it was Minnesota's first that held the line for the nation on July 3rd, 1863. and I think we may be in that moment now. Can you comment on his rhetoric and Mayor Jacob Frey and whether they want to see unrest in Minneapolis?
Well, that's very tough rhetoric from a guy who just quit because his fraudulent activities have been uncovered. Look, Tim Walz is a joke. His entire administration has been a joke. The idea that he's some sort of freedom fighter, he's not. He's a guy who has enabled fraud and maybe, in fact, has participated in fraud. That's what this new Assistant Attorney General position is going to find out. I don't care what Tim Walz says. I care about getting to the bottom of this fraud for the American people, and I care about enforcing the nation's immigration laws. That's what we're going to stay focused on.
I'm going to build a 300-page thread about how I'm a genius.
Americans, they've told ICE to get the F out of Minnesota. This is going to stoke the fire against ICE agents, and you're talking about ICE agents right now and being concerned about them. What, if anything, is the administration going to do to make sure these folks are protected during these protests? But also, should DHS sort of revisit their procedures here? I mean, nobody wants to see an American killed. Are there changes that need to be made to make sure something like this doesn't happen again?
Look, first of all, of course, nobody wants an American citizen to be killed. This is absolutely a tragedy, but it's a tragedy of the making of the far left. They have radicalized a very small segment of the population, taught them that ICE agents are engaging in wide-scale violation of people's rights. What our ICE officers are doing is deporting the millions of criminal aliens that were let in during the Biden administration. So number one, we have to say, as a matter of leadership, but I would appreciate if the Democrats would join me on this. Let's be honest about the fact that we have way too many illegal aliens in this country. Our ICE officers should be supported in doing their job. You're trying to actually marshal the far left lunatic fringe to engage in doxing.
Unemployed kid is yelling his name out like he just scored a home run. Biden, Biden, Biden. Come on, Joe. We did it, Joe. Okay.
Going to do is make it easier for the American People's Administration to enforce the American People's law. And that means that Democrats have to stop rallying the mob against legitimate law enforcement operations. And that means that we are going to get tougher, and that's what this AAG position is about. We're going to get tougher at the people who are defrauding the United States by inciting violence against our law enforcement officers. That's one of the things that we're going to do. We've already started that work at the Department of Justice, but we're going to keep on doing it, and this new AAG position is going to kick that into high gear.
Vice President Vance, you just suggested that this woman who was killed, Renee Good, is part of a broader left-wing network. Who do you think is behind this broader left-wing network?
Well, it's one of the things we're going to have to figure out, but here's the way that I put it. When somebody throws a brick at an ICE agent, or somebody tries to run over an ICE agent, who paid for the brick? And who told protesters to show up and engage in violent activity against our law enforcement officers? You see, just with this most recent terrible incident in Minneapolis, you see friends of this woman's or other people who are eyewitnesses saying basically that she was there to engage in obstruction of a legitimate law enforcement operation. How did she get there? How did she learn about this? There's an entire network, and frankly, some of the media are participating in it, that is trying to incite violence against our law enforcement officers. It's ridiculous, it's preposterous, and part of our investigatory work is getting to the bottom of it. Who's funding it? Who's supporting it? Who's cheerleading it? And of course, if there's illegal activity related to that, we're going to get to the bottom of that and prosecute it where we can.
Vice President, thank you for taking questions today. Is there a risk with you describing her as a deranged leftist, talking about very specific facts of these events, when an investigation is just beginning? Are you preempting a thorough investigation by drawing such conclusions? And have you received any information beyond the videos we've seen publicly about this individual, her specific acts, that has informed your point of view?
Well, first of all, the Department of Justice is going to investigate this. The Department of Homeland Security is already investigating this. But the simple fact is, what you see is what you get in this case. You have a woman who was trying to obstruct a legitimate law enforcement operation. Nobody debates that.
Nobody.
You have a woman who aimed her car at a law enforcement officer and pressed on the accelerator. Nobody debates that. I can believe that her death is a tragedy, while also recognizing that it's a tragedy of her own making and a tragedy of the far left who has marshaled an entire movement, a lunatic fringe against our law enforcement officers. I think what is
does not
clearly
combine
happening
these
here,
two
and it's going
words,
to keep
does he,
on
JD?
happening unless the Democrats wake up and say, you know what, you don't have
Let's
to
just
agree
buy
with
this.
our
This is
immigration
free
policies.
money,
You
isn't
don't
it?
have to agree with what the president or the vice president believe about immigration
no.
enforcement, but why don't you take this to the ballot box? Why don't you vote? Why don't you organize? Instead, what some of them are doing is encouraging people to get violent with our law enforcement officials. It's disgraceful, and it's got to stop. Yeah.
Just to follow up on that question, and again, thank you for taking questions, Mr. Vice President. There's clearly a lot of emotion in Minnesota, across the country, over this incident. You're calling Renee Good a deranged leftist. There's been heated rhetoric that we've also heard from officials. What responsibility do you and the president have to diffuse some of the tension that we are seeing play out in Minnesota, bring down the temperature as this investigation is unfolding?
What we have a responsibility to do is to protect the people who are enforcing the law and protect the country writ large. Whether you're Democrat or Republican, you deserve to have the people's laws enforced in the United States of America. Now, again, I'm not happy that this woman lost her life. I'm not happy that this woman was there at a protest violating the law by interfering with a law enforcement action. I think that we can all recognize that the best way to turn down the temperature is to tell people to take their concerns about immigration policy to the ballot box. Stop assaulting and stop inciting violence against our law enforcement officers. That's the best way to take down the temperature. And we're not, look, we're not going to give in to terrorism on this.
Oh,
and
terrorism.
that's exactly what's happening.
Wow.
People trying to antagonize, to commit acts of violence.
Terrorism.
They throw bricks at them. Sometimes they shoot at them. Sometimes they dox them. Sometimes they go to their place of residence and harass their families. This is classic terrorism. And we cannot say that when a far left fringe is inciting violence against our brave law enforcement officials, that we're no longer going to enforce the law. That's rewarding the very people who are engaged in this garbage. The actual reward that they just got is a new assistant attorney general who is going to prosecute and investigate this stuff even more aggressively than before. Yeah.
Thanks for taking my question. So the head of Minnesota's investigations agency says that the U.S. Attorney's Office has essentially cut off the state investigations agency's access to the investigation. What is the precedent for that, and why shouldn't the Minnesota officials on the ground have access and evidence to work on this investigation?
First of all, I wish the state officials in Minnesota would investigate why you have so many people who are using their vehicles and other means to actually interfere with a legitimate law enforcement operation. The precedent here is very simple. You have a federal law enforcement official engaging in federal law enforcement action. That's a federal issue. That guy is protected by absolute immunity. He was doing his job. The idea that Tim Walz and a bunch of radicals in Minneapolis are going to go after and make this guy's life miserable because he was doing the job that he was asked to do is preposterous. The unprecedented thing is the idea that a local official can actually prosecute a federal official with absolute immunity. I've never seen anything like that. It would get tossed out by a judge. So what I'd like Minnesota to focus on is the real issue that they're encouraging people. Minneapolis officials are encouraging people to commit violence against ICE officials. It's ridiculous. It's got to stop. Go ahead.
Mr. President, thank you. You said earlier that there's a left-wing network to attack, to dox, to assault, and make it impossible for ICE officers to do their job. You told my colleague just now that there's an investigation going on into that network.
Yep.
So if everything that you say
What's
is
the payout so far on this JD?
how does being part of that network
85
justify being shot?
13
Well, being part of the network doesn't
so far.
justify being shot, but ramming an ICE officer with your car, that's what justifies being shot. It's not a good thing, by the way, but when you force somebody to engage in self-defense, it's almost a preposterous question. I'm not saying that funding some of this stuff justifies capital punishment. Nobody would suggest that. The reason this woman is dead is because she tried to ram somebody with her car and that guy acted in self-defense. That is why she lost her life, and that is the tragedy. Now, there may be other violations of the law and other penalties that are associated with those violations of the law. For example, if you are funding violence against our law enforcement officers, I'm not a prosecutor. My guess is that's not the sort of thing that earns capital punishment, but it should sure as hell earn you a few years in prison if you're funding the effort to try to assault our law enforcement officers. What is, I'm sorry guys, what's going on here? You guys are meant to report the truth, How have you let yourself become agents of propaganda of a radical fringe that's making it harder for us to enforce our laws? You just asked me a question that presumes that the reason why this woman died is because she was engaged in legitimate protest. She tried to run somebody over with her car, and the guy defended himself when that happened. Next question.
The investigation is still ongoing.
I said next question.
I said next question.
You watched the video yourself. There's not the slightest doubt in your mind, having viewed it, that the victim, you still believe that she deliberately tried to ram him despite seeing this video.
Look, I don't know what is in a person's heart or in a person's head, and obviously we're not going to get the chance to ask this woman what was going on. What I am certain of is that she violated the law. What I am certain of is that that officer had every reason to think that he was under very serious threat for injury or in fact, his life. What I'm certain of is that she accelerated in a way where she ran into the guy.
I'm too NBA coded,
I don't know
man.
what was in her heart and what was in her head, but I know that she violated the law, and I know that officer was acting in self-defense. That raises an interesting point, though. Look, if people want to say that we should have a legitimate debate about, you know, what was she really doing, right? Was she panicking when she drove into this officer, or was she actually trying to ram him? That's a reasonable conversation. What's not reasonable is for so many of you to plaster all over the media that this was an innocent woman and that the ICE agent committed murder, which is what many of you have said explicitly and some of you have said implicitly. That's what I have an objection to. The idea that this was not justified is absurd, and I think everybody knows it in their heart. Yeah.
Mr. Vice President,
in the green jacket.
Taking down the temperature.
In the gray jacket.
It seems like political violence is ratcheting up and riots could be around the corner. What steps does the administration have planned to try to unite America? Average people on both political sides are so tired of fighting with each other, and I think all the journalists in this room could agree with me that we don't want to be part of the problem. Do you have any words to unite America?
You know, I know you don't want to be a part of the problem, and I think that's true of a lot of you. I'm not sure it's true for everybody, because the reporting over this has been one of the biggest scandals I've ever seen in media. I've never seen a case so misrepresented and misreported when you have a guy who was defending himself and is now being treated as some sort of federal assassin by so many of the people in this room. First of all, let me say about crime. You mentioned violence. One of the things we're proudest about is that you saw violent crime over the last year drop by 20%. Why is that drop by 20%? Is it because we're attacking our law enforcement officers, or is it because we in the administration are empowering our law enforcement officers to enforce the law? I think that's one of the ways you take down the temperature, is you make people feel more secure and safe in their person and property. That's why we care so much about protecting our law enforcement, because it accrues to the benefit of the entire national community. I think that we can absolutely talk about the ways in which, you know, we can lower the temperature by discussing differences in a reasonable and rational way. Again, I'm happy to talk with any congressional Democrat or any of you about our immigration policy, about why I think it's necessary, about why I think it's in the best interest of the country, about why the President of the United States was elected to actually enforce the border for the first time in at least 4 years. So here's the problem. That's not the debate so many people are having. They are actively covering for people who are committing acts of violence against federal law enforcement. It is preposterous. The way to take down the temperature is to stop it. Have your debates about policy. Attack me. Attack the President of the United States. Don't attack our law enforcement officers. They are trying to do the job the American people demanded that they do. They are not policy actors. They are enforcing the law. They should be treated with a modicum of dignity and respect. And the fact that they're not is why incidents like yesterday happened. The one final point I'll make about this is, look, there's a part of me that feels very, very sad for this woman, not just because she lost her life, but because I think she is a victim of left-wing ideology. What young mother shows up and decides they're going to throw their car in front of ICE officers who are enforcing legitimate law? You've got to be a little brainwashed to get to that point to where you're willing not just to protest, that's fine, not peacefully protest, but throw your vehicle in front of legitimate law enforcement officers and drive your car into them. To get to that point, you have to be, I think, radicalized in a very, very sad way. I certainly wish that she hadn't got there. I know there's an ICE officer right now who very much wishes he was not put in the position where he had to fire a gun to defend his own life. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. What's your message, following up on that, what's your message to the leaders in Minnesota the governor of Minnesota, the mayor of Minneapolis, to calm down the situation on the ground, on the streets? What's your message also to those protesters who saw that video in a completely different way than you saw that video?
Well, first of all, I think if you watch every angle of that video, there is one angle where if you squint, you can maybe tell yourself that it's not clear what happened. But when you look at all angles of that video, it is very clear that her vehicle went right for the guy. She actually collided with him. And then that's, of course, when he fired his shots. That's obvious, okay? So what I'd say to the protesters is, by all means, protest peacefully, but make this about ideas. Make this about disagreement with our policy. Don't use your protest as a justification or an encouragement for people to go and incite violence and participate in violence against our law enforcement officials. To the people on the ground in Minneapolis, meaning the local officials in Minneapolis from Tim Walz on down, I'd say, look, why can't you just disagree with a given piece of immigration policy without turning law enforcement into the enemy? And think about, for example, a criminal law, where a police officer goes and arrests somebody because they violated a criminal law. If you're mad about that, go and protest the politician who passed that law. Don't attack the police officer who's just doing their job. We had a wide open border under Joe Biden. I happen to think it's a good thing the President of the United States has closed it down.
Border.
If you think that's a bad idea, criticize this administration for a policy decision. Don't attack our people for enforcing the law, because I guarantee you go to ICE, there are black people and white people, there are Democrats and Republicans, they are patriotic Americans who are trying to enforce the law. Attack me, lay off of our ICE agents. Yeah, in the blue, all the way, yeah.
Yep, thank you, Mr. Vice President. You've called on Tim Walz to resign. Can you lay out the case as to why he should step down?
Well, look, I think Tim Walz should resign because it's very clear either that he knew about the fraud in Minneapolis, he knew about the welfare fraud, or at the very least he looked the other way. I mean, this is not this is not like Lex Luthor, right? This is not movie villain fraud. This is the lowest IQ possible fraud. This is, we're going to take kids, we're going to take the absence of kids and set up a daycare center where there are no children, and we're going to call our early childhood education center the Quality Leering Center.
Oh,
by the way, if you can't spell learning,
I was too slow on the Leering Center.
Be in early childhood education. But people got rich off of this. We know that there were schools who either had no enrollment or at least they overstated their enrollment. Tim Walz, either it was unbelievable incompetence or he was in on the fraud. That's one of the things we're going to get to the bottom of. Sir.
Mr. Vice President, can you explain the difference between this Associate Attorney General and a Special Counsel? And do you envision this being a permanent position or having more of a limited scope?
Well, it's going to be permanent until we get to the bottom of what's going on, so I think it's going to last for at least the remainder of the administration. What's different about it from a special counsel is, if you remember, the Jack Smith case where the special counsel was found unconstitutional, one of the big issues there is that that person was not an appointed person, completely aside from all the other issues that the person was a lunatic and that the case had no merit. There was a fundamental constitutional issue, which is that he had not been appointed by the president and he had not been confirmed by the United States Senate. An assistant attorney general, what that's going to allow us to do is appoint this person, have them confirmed by the Senate. That's one difference. The more substantive difference is that this person is going to be part of a very broad interagency White House that's being led from the President of the United States on down. And that's going to give him the resources, the access to material and information to make this person more effective. I think a lot of people have asked, how are you really going to get to the heart of the fraud? We've been asking ourselves that question for the past couple of months, and we think this is the critical piece at the Department of Justice to really ramp this fraud investigation into high gear. In the red tie, yeah.
Vice President Vance, I wanted to ask, what's your message to far leftist agitators who feel emboldened to obstruct ICE activity in Minnesota and around the country?
Well, I think they shouldn't feel emboldened because now they have an assistant attorney general who is going to prosecute and investigate their fraud and their violence more aggressively than it has ever been investigated in the United States of America. We are doing so much to try to find the financing networks and the domestic terrorism networks that legitimate this violence, that fund this violence, and that, of course, engage in the violence. These people should not feel emboldened because they have, for the first time, maybe in American history, an administration that is not going to tolerate political violence of any kind from anywhere. Yeah.
There's a strike on fucking
that the entire weight of
Caro.
these ICE agents and this ICE agent in particular, there is still a federal investigation happening on the ground. Does that mean that they are not looking into this ICE agent at all? They are just focused on the woman who was in the car? What is the investigation if the federal government has already determined that its weight is behind this ICE investigation?
So what do you mean? When you say investigation, do you mean investigation of the shooting yesterday or of the fraud that's happening in Minneapolis?
Yesterday.
Okay, look, DHS, as I understand it, has an investigation already ongoing. I know that other organs of our government are looking at this. So yes, there's certainly an investigation that's happening right now. But as part of the broader fraud investigation, a lot of what we're doing with the Department of Justice has already started. We've got over 1,500 subpoenas. We've got people this morning, actually. We're going door to door to actually knock on some of these fraudulent care centers, these fraudulent social services organizations to get to the bottom of what's going on there. So the investigation in some ways has already been ramping up into the anti-fraud element for at least a few weeks. What we're trying to do is supercharge it and make sure there's a designated person within the Department of Justice who completely controls that particular focus.
Just to follow up on that, Mr. Vice President, on the agent, is he still on duty or has he been placed on leave, on administrative leave? And what really was the target of the operation on Wednesday? ICE operation on Wednesday?
Well, first of all, it was a legitimate law enforcement operation. We were going door to door to try to find criminal illegal aliens and deport them from the United States of America, because if you come to our country illegally in violation of our immigration laws, then we have the mandate, and in fact we have the legal duty to enforce those immigration laws. Whether he's been placed on administrative leave, I don't know the answer to that question. I'd refer it to the Department of Homeland Security and they can follow up. I will say, look, I would appreciate everybody saying a prayer for that agent. Look, in the past 6 months, he has been hit twice by a motor vehicle. One time, the first time, it led to over 30 stitches and very serious injuries to his legs. This is a guy who's actually done a very, very important job for the United States of America. He's been assaulted, he's been attacked, he's been injured because of it. He deserves a debt of gratitude, and I think the media prejudging and talking about this guy as if he's a murderer is one of the most disgraceful things I've ever seen in the American media.
And Gavin Newsom
what is your specific
talking at the
role
same
in the
time,
future of
going
Minnesota?
after each other.
And I'm wondering, could you confirm reports that the
Our
director
two
of National
future
Intelligence,
presidents right now
Tulsi Gabbard,
debating
was
in
kept
separate
out of the
rooms.
planning for the operations because of her past concerns?
Funny
about
enough,
military
I have.
involvement in Venezuela?
So I've heard a couple of things. One, that I was kept out of the planning for the Venezuela operation. That's false. And another, that Tulsi was kept out of the planning for Venezuela operations. That's completely false. Look, we're all part of the same team. And one of the things that is really amazing about that operation is that we kept it very tight to the senior cabinet level officials and related officials in our government, and we kept this operation secret for a very long time. I'm very proud of that. I think it suggests that the team works very well together. Well, looking ahead, what is my role? Look, my role is going to be whatever the president asks me to do. Well, every other day, I'm chairing the meeting that we do on this among White House principals to talk about next steps to try to ensure that Venezuela is stable, and as the president has directed us to do, to ensure that the new Venezuelan government actually listens to the United States and does what the United States needs it to do under our country's best interest. So I'm going to be as involved as the president wants me to be. So far, that's been very involved, and I'll keep on doing that so long as the president asks me to do it. In the purple.
Yes.
Even
Mr.
beyond the War Powers
Sorry,
resolution.
we'll go purple and then we'll go
two
questions or whatever that is in front.
And then beige. All right.
Okay.
Are there any indications, you talked about the network, are there any indications that the lady
What
who
does
was
it mean
shot,
for
I know
Kara?
there are
She's not
different
gonna get to
reports from
speak,
there.
really,
Her
is she?
wife said they were new
Just
to
get,
the
like, no
area.
Biden?
Are there any indications she may have been a paid
No Biden.
agitator, and maybe that there are others that were brought to the area, considering everything that's going on in Minneapolis?
I wouldn't say that she was paid. I don't have the evidence to say that one way or the other. What I do know is that she was violating the law. And if you just look at the eyewitness accounts, they were saying she was there to prevent the enforcement of the law. She was trying to obstruct a legitimate law enforcement operation. That much is obviously clear. The rest of it, of course, is part of the reason why we investigate this stuff. Yeah.
I struggle with it. Even beyond the War Powers resolution today, Congress has bucked President Trump on issues like tariffs. Are you concerned that President Trump is losing his grip on Republicans in the Congress, and what are you going to do about it?
No, I'm not concerned at all. First of all, we talked to some of the senators who were going to vote the wrong way, in my view, on this resolution today. Much of their argument was based more on a legal technicality than any disagreement in policy. If you look at the people who actually voted, every single one of them have supported the administration's plan. Second of all, as the president, I believe himself has already said, every president, Democrat or Republican, believes the War Powers Act is fundamentally a fake and unconstitutional law. It's not going to change anything about how we conduct foreign policy over the next couple of weeks, the next couple of months, and that'll continue to be how we approach things. Go ahead.
So we are seeing, regarding Iran, we're seeing the protests in Iran these days. The citizens are begging for help from the U.S. and Israel, naming streets in the city after President Trump. It seems there is an opportunity here that may not come again. Will the United States stand by the citizens of Iran? And if Israel decides to strike again the nuclear sites in Iran, is the U.S. expected to take part?
Well, look, we certainly stand by anybody who's engaged in peaceful protest, anybody who's trying to assert their rights for free association and to have their voices heard. Obviously, the Iranian regime has a lot of problems. As the President of the United States has said, the smartest thing for them to have done, it was true 2 months ago, it's true today, is for them to actually have a real negotiation with the United States about what we need to see when it comes to their nuclear program. I'll let the President speak to what we're going to do in the future, but we certainly stand with anybody across the world, including the Iranian people who are advocating for their rights. I'll take just a couple more questions. Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you very much, Mr. Vice President. Concerning Venezuela, how would you assure the Caribbean region that they will remain a zone of peace? Because some member states in the region are concerned.
Well, look, the President had a very productive phone call with the President of Colombia yesterday, and we continue to talk at all levels of government with a number of our friends in the Caribbean region. I actually think this is really good for peace in the Caribbean, because when you take away a major source of illegal cartel revenue, which is the cocaine trade, the fentanyl trade, other sources of illicit revenue, you actually remove the power of one of the main destabilizing forces in Latin America and in the Caribbean. I really do think, we say it all the time, this is the President of Peace. One of the ways that you establish peace in your own hemisphere is to make it clear that the United States is going to be respected, that the United States is willing to take power away from criminal cartel organizations and give it to legitimate governments. That's how we see the future of the Western Hemisphere, and we think it's going to be much more peaceful than it was certainly under Joe Biden. I'll take one more question. Go ahead.
Not under Maduro, under Joe Biden.
Many in Europe reject the idea.
What a dodge. Oh my gosh.
Well, first of all, Secretary Rubio, I believe, is meeting with the leaders of Denmark and Greenland next week, I want to say it is. Maybe it's the week after that. We'll continue to deliver some of these messages in private, some of them in public. But I guess my advice to European leaders and anybody else would be to take the President of the United States seriously. What has he said about Greenland? Set to the side the crazy overreactions that I've seen from the press and from certain people in Europe. What has the President said? Number one, Greenland is really important, not just to America's missile defense, but to the world's missile defense. Number two, we know that there are hostile adversaries that have shown a lot of interest in that particular territory, that particular slice of the world. So what we're asking our European friends to do is to take the security of that landmass more seriously, because if they're not, the United States is going to have to do something about it. What that is, I'll leave that to the President as we continue to engage in diplomacy with our European friends and everybody on this particular topic. And again, thank you all for listening. Thanks for taking questions. And I just ask you, look, this is politics, and often Republicans and get in arguments with the press about things. And I understand that. I think it's really irresponsible for you guys to go out there and imply or tell the American people that a guy who defended himself from being rammed by an automobile is guilty of murder. Be a little bit more careful. We're going to talk about toning down the temperature, which I know the President wants to do, and I certainly want to do. One of the ways we tone down the temperature is to have a media that tells the truth. I encourage you all to do that. God bless you.
I sold out.
Happy New Year, guys.
Is Kara going to go back up? What's going on? Come on, Caro. Wait, no Caro? That's it? No Caro? My beloved queen, where are you? Caro, come back to me! Actually, I don't give a fuck, because I just have no, so... Yeah, Caro, you can go play Clash Royale. I don't give a shit. Go have a lunch break. Let's go. Caro didn't even fucking speak. What the hell? Caro. Well, this is a complete no-fest then for her. Fraud, illegal alien, and ICE hit only, and border. No Somalians. Get out. Look at that. No Greenland, no Somali for Caro. That's a cheeky $72. And a cheeky yes Walls, yes Biden, yes California for JD. That's another fucking $70 too. Made about 150 right there from that press briefing, and I literally woke up as it was going on. So, show you how easy mentions is, bro. I literally had no idea about this. I just woke up, Nick DM'd me, he was like, bro, JD Vance is sucking Caroline's titties right now. I was like, what? I gotta see this. And I was not disappointed, bro. Not disappointed. If he did national security at the end, that would have been better, but I got, I provided exit for Azul. That's what I did. Azul has a 10-second stream ahead, so. But Biden, lock. California, lock. Let's go, JD. Nick made 410 across all of them. Oh yeah, Newsom's still going on. Newsom's still going on. He hit democracy, which was the fucking lock of locks. I'm gonna be honest, I've never heard Gavin Newsom talk and not say democracy. So, let's go, Nick, though. $410, bro? That's a dub. On this Gavin one, oh, he did say Trump. Look at that.
Who do this to the teachers, the classified employees, and to the parents of LA Unified School kids? You should be very proud of your progress you're making, particularly proud of your leader, who's here, the Superintendent of Public Education, Alberto Cavallo, who's here with us today, who's just been doing a remarkable job. Alberto, I appreciate you coming all the way up from Los Angeles. And just so you know, he's only been here a few years, but under his stewardship, the district is outpacing statewide progress. They're exceeding pre-pandemic levels in every category and reaching, get this, the highest levels recorded since the current state assessments were launched a decade ago. Under his leadership, that's happening in the nation's second largest school district. I say this all the time, you're nothing but a mirror of your consistent thoughts. Whatever you focus on, you'll find more of. And I don't think it's such a bad thing that we start focusing on what's right.
I got Ram 200 shares at 75 cents for democracy during this speech. Yeah, that is weird. Honestly, I don't know why this wasn't, like, priced normally. I don't know. Like, 80s is crazy. Is 80s not crazy? This should be a 90-plus strike, right? Unless I don't know about state-of-state addresses. I mean, he even hit it in his 2-minute pre-recorded one last year, so. I do not understand that, but. Oh, the volume lower? Yeah. Oh my gosh, dude, can I bet on the hand signals he's gonna do? I'm gonna go with this one next. He's gonna hit one of these Shaq handling the basketball type of. I'm sure he's already hit the windmills. He's probably already hit the crazy car. That would be a fire fucking mention market. Gavin Newsom's hand signals. There would surely be no debates with that one. WJD Vance, though. WJD. We'll take that. We will absolutely take that.
California's leadership, leading the nation in kids' online safety, thanks to laws that you've passed, including many that I had the privilege of signing just last year on age of verification, on chatbot safety, on parental controls. But recently, you saw the headlines. You may have reacted. Some of you a little bit more than others.
Gavin is a goddamn
some of those headlines in Australia started making you think.
Gavin is proof that AGI is here, bro. AGI is already here, and it's We've already got humanoid robots. What's up, Ray? Ray, if you showed up on time, you would have banked 150 on the JD Vance. JD Vance. JD Vance. I'm just watching the Gavin Newsom State of the State address now for California.
A tougher
which
picture.
I did bank on.
But I thought it was important. You walk into a morgue.
He shouted out
5
Cali.
young people
So
may have taken their life by suicide. 4 are
there's
men.
Suicide, yes. Who
Boys
had
are
that
14 times more likely to be incarcerated. Boys, 3 times more likely to die from an overdose. Twice as likely to be homeless.
Homeless?
1 out of 7 men don't even have one friend.
1 out of 7 men don't even have one
This is
friend.
interesting. May not be surprising to some of you. Half of young men have not even asked a woman out on a date in person.
All right, Gavin, what are you trying to say, bro? Exit out of that one. I don't know. Why does that statistic matter? That statistic doesn't matter. One out of 2 young women haven't ever asked out a... Yeah, I'm not voting for Gavin, dude. What is that? What does that call out? Huh? Dude, as soon as I turn on the video, hey, yo, dumbass haven't asked out a girl ever. Okay. Cool. Cool, Gavin. Guess who I'm voting for? Huh? Okay, I either vote... Okay, I'm joking, guys. This is all jokes. I'm joking. Of course I've asked out a woman before. Of course I have. Dude, like, do you want to have intercourse? Like, dude, it's so easy. I don't get it. Why it's such a big deal. Is Gavin gonna hit actually any of this stuff, or should I just go and? I have democracy. He hit homeless. How long has he been going for? Actually, let's check.
This is not.
Zero sum? Is he talking about trading?
Oh,
he's been going on for a while. 34 minutes? He's about to wrap up. Okay, we can watch this. He's about to wrap up.
Their state can lay claim to that.
Potentially, Ray.
We have.
Depends on whatever's going on tonight, if there's anything crazy.
Service matters. Shared experiences matter. You want to deal with all this crisis and all this stress? Shared experiences.
He hasn't hit
no one's asking who you voted for. No one asks you where you live.
Are we dead ass?
Shared experiences.
This is crazy. This is a little
we have
crazy.
a college core program in
too?
this state.
This
You
is
have
a
funded.
90+ strike.
The College Core program, unlike anything else in the United States, over 3,500 students are earning up to $10,000 to reduce their cost of education, and what we ask for in return is 450 hours of service. Service, I'm a Sarge Shriver guy. Service, he said, is the heart and soul of what binds us together. Helping personal character, helping with friendships, as well as helping with careers. And on the career front, I also want to highlight something that you funded. I want to highlight the progress you've made. I want to thank you for the commitment. We created the state's first master plan for career education. It was a 3-year process. We just recently completed it. Creates these seamless, debt-free pathways from school to high-paying jobs with or without college experience.
Okay.
We're integrating new training, strengthening these regional partnerships, and building a new career digital passport so people can track their skills. We set a goal of 500,000 apprenticeships by 2029.
Ooh, what a dodge.
Today,
what a dodge.
we have exceeded that goal. Over 600,000
That's the wrong
earned
year,
and learned
Gavin.
opportunities. More
Gavin,
than
don't
any
you know
other
you're
place
supposed to
in the
say
country
2028?
have been funded by all of you in this chambers. That is a
actually
big
what I was thinking
accomplishment.
about
No other state
on this
can lay claim to that.
speech. I was like, is there a chance he talks about 2028, like in general? Like we got that bill passed, it'll take effect into 2028, you know? And he just said 2029, so that would have been the exact context I was theorizing about. It's just he hit the wrong year. That's crazy though. Because it's like, obviously, he's probably not going to talk about his campaign, his presidential campaign, and the State of the State address. He's going to talk about California, but 2028 could hit in the fact, like, he leaves in 2028, you know? All this other stuff.
$1 billion currently underway. More than 28,000 separate projects supporting over 200,000+ jobs to strengthen this state. Environmental restoration, energy projects, roads, bridges, water, power, rail, ports, broadband, which are getting done
not hit fire?
For rural communities. Sites Reservoir.
You gotta tell me, how's he not hit fire? Has he hit wildfire?
Like what? In half a century.
How has he not hit fire?
As the world's largest battery and solar storage project, 2,300+ megawatts in Fresno County, all moving forward, but also moving forward under California's new fast track permitting authority that you authorized 2 years ago. Getting it done and getting it done faster. I debated whether or not to include this in my comments.
No?
But I thought it's important. My gosh. How about mis and disrepresentation? How about mis and disinformation? Pick up on permitting, fast tracking. You know, we're also laying tracks. Laying tracks, the nation's first high-speed rail system.
Yeah, this will go wrong, Nick, is what I'm thinking. He's on the rail system. I'm already falling
Want to
asleep,
do well
bro.
in the future? You got to invest in the future.
Listen to the rest of this.
We want a 21st century transportation network. Full environmental clearance is done. We built over 50 major structures. More than 60 miles of guideway have been completed, ready for immediate track lane in the Central Valley. 2,200.
All right, what's the play here? Maybe it's no Maduro oil? It's like oil has to hit in like a weird way. I've seen a very weird context. Like oil companies just in general when talking about clean energy. Like no way he talks actually about Venezuela. Like this is a State of the State address. It has nothing to do with California at all. I mean, he was held in New York. Like, it's not even like he was brought to your state, Maduro. Call out on Trump? No. It'd be interesting. I don't know. Oil? Oh, he had
affordability.
There. I just saw that.
It's not a word we just discovered.
Closed caption. Look at that.
Certainly not a hoax. So just briefly, here's the way we think about it. I think the way most of us think about it, it's not just one issue. It's a stacking of many, many issues on top of each other.
Oh, I
But the one issue that impacts more things in more ways on more days, pretty self-evident, cost of housing.
I had too many
really
circles.
California's original sin. For decades, it's true. For decades and decades, the California housing reforms have been sort of notable for delay, often even denial.
How is he not going to hit wildfires?
A few years back, we got to work. In 2019, we passed the strongest statewide renter protections in the United States of America. We did that together. In the past few years...
See, like he said 2019
In the past few years, we have enshrined the most consequential...
There's a different way to... There's a way to hit 2028 here in like a random ass context. And like the bill goes into effect 2028.
But I'd probably lead with those two. I was proud to sign 61 housing reform bills, clearing away regulatory thickets, forcing local governments, often resistance, to get in the game, and modernizing our environmental review. But we obviously have more work to do. And this year, I hope we can work together, legislature, to focus on the cost of construction, focusing on utilizing new building methods and new technology that are worker-centered reforms that
I didn't realize, does
must
this
bring our
lady
brothers and sisters
have to also
in labor
do ASL for his hand signals too? Like,
we have
she's
that
already
opportunity to
using her
build on
hands.
that.
So how am I supposed to like...
There's another area
I guess
that
if I'm
also
deaf,
requires
I can see both, so it doesn't matter.
I think, urgent attention. And that's the institutional
deaf-
investors that are snatching
But if I'm
homes
deaf, I'm so
by the
confused
hundreds and
here,
thousands at a time.
Like, if I'm deaf, I gotta listen to this girl's hand signals, but I also gotta see his hand signals. Like, the stuff you're doing, Gavin's messing up with my ASL. I don't know if you're saying what she's saying, or if you're saying what your hands are saying. Like, I don't know. I just think it is funny to have an ASL lady here too, just in the corner. It's like me. I'm like in the corner here too. That means I love you in Spanish, by the way. He's not gonna hit any other strikes, is he? GG's, Gavin.
Code to make all of this work. Look, Malia liked the word tax. Housing is just one component. Housing is one component on this stack of affordability challenges that we face. And that's why our stack of solutions
I can't help myself, bro. It's so funny.
More than tripling.
It's so funny, dude. He does it every sentence.
And providing some $7.6 billion back into the pockets of people since 2019.
In the pockets?
We created the Young Child Tax Credit,
like one of these.
the Foster Youth Tax Credit, new programs that we created together. And I'll remind you, we increased paid sick leave and paid family leave, allowing eligible workers, this is important, just went into effect, to receive up to 90% of their wages while they're raising and supporting their families. Few states in America are doing that. Through all of these programs, through all of these targeted tax credits, these rebates and program expansions, the average California family now saves $18,000. Not insignificant, $18,000. But I also am mindful and recognize that the new cost of eggs is now your energy bill.
Eggs!
The number one driver, by the way, number one driver of your increased energy bills over the last decade has been the cost of hardening our infrastructure and other wildfire-related costs.
Wildfire, there you go.
Respectfully, significantly, not exclusively driven by climate change. That's why I was proud to work with all of you to extend our nation-leading Cap and Invest program for another 2 decades.
That was the one that
But
was
when
actually
we did
going to
this,
hit. I was
we
surprised.
were mindful of this crisis as it relates to utility bills. And we provided in that extension close to $60 billion for your monthly energy bills. This legislature did that. This legislature did that. That is a meaningful accomplishment to address the issue of affordability. We also worked across our differences, finally, after years and years, to come up with a new energy market, a regional energy market that will also increase reliability at the same time.
Gavin's going to hit anything else. And this is his last one, so he's probably going to go another 20 minutes, but if anything, the only thing he could hit, maybe ICE. He's not going to mention that shit, though. It's not a state. Maybe campaign. I mean, maybe he hits the rest of this. I just don't know. I'm not sure. I knew he's going to hit democracy, though. That's all I knew. I'll take that one. All right, I'm going to go get some food in my system. Let's see. Anything else today? I want to be for Real Madrid's winning. Look at that. Just Trump Fox News? Trump Fox News appearance. What is this for? Walls, Greenland, Maduro. Is this pre-recorded? Oh my god, it's Hannity, bro. It's all pre-recorded, isn't it? Hannity, Trump. The Hannity show's all pre-recorded, like, bullshit, isn't it? It's gonna be all about fraud, though. Housing? Home housing? That's so weird. That's such a weird strike for Trump. It's so weird. That's like a fucking Zoran Mamdani strike. It's so funny. Yeah, Trump, you know, wholesome Trump. He just always goes, you know what? You guys make this place feel like home. That's what he says. Cocaine? Fentanyl? Oh shit. This is how I buy some. Right here. Right? Buy yes on cocaine. You bag $134, then you can go buy a bag. Look at that. Trump? To say his own name? This is fun. This might be a fun market, depending on if it's going to be completely pre-recorded or not.
Homelessness in the state, in the United States, 18.13% last year. California, 2025, unsheltered homeless, 9% reduction. First time in almost 2 decades. So the investments are paying off, and of course, it's not good enough, particularly for those living on the streets, self-medicating with drug and alcohol addictions, those suffering from bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, and paranoia. But because of your leadership and new tools to address this issue, we've modernized California's landmark conservatorship laws for the first time in over half a century. You created Care Court, a new legal framework to connect people with untreated psychosis to court-ordered services and housing, and the California voters, they did their part. They supported Proposition 1 with a passage in 2024, $6.38 billion.
Maybe Jordan hits here. It's the Chicago Bulls.
Here's a brief update for folks that just think this is all going to go away on its own and we don't have to make investments. In just 18 months since the voters approved that program, we've already approved 70% of the new treatment beds and slots that were promised under Prop 1. It's the fastest distribution of bond money in California's history. The fastest. 4,000, here's a numeric. 4,236 new locked and unlocked mental health beds, 18,875 new outpatient beds. It's a big deal. And on July 1st, in just a matter of months, this year we'll implement the second phase of Proposition 1 by redirecting $1 billion a year in annual mental health funding for housing and treatment for people living on the streets, providing counties what they've been asking for, $1 billion predictable every year. So I say this with love and respect to the counties. No more excuses. It's time to bring people off the streets and out of encampments and into housing and treatment. No more excuses. You've done your job, members of the legislature. We have. No more. State vision is realized locally. Localism is determinative. Just is, period. That doesn't mean our hands are clean. No one's naive about that. And that's why just since 2021, the state has removed, with your support, some 19,000 encampments. And we've worked with providers all across the state to get over 61,000 people out of those encampments and into services. We're seeing results, making streets safer for everyone, fully recognizing that quality of life is at the core of so much of the frustration people feel about our state.
Damn, this is getting a long-ass
And when it comes to quality of life, when it comes to public safety specifically,
they're basically like, this
let's
is gonna be
talk
halfway
about
through.
the facts. For the first time in California's history, you stepped up. It's something we've never done in the past. You provided grants to police departments, prosecutors, to combat organized crime, retail theft, and hold criminals accountable.
Don't you know he's going to talk about the ice glaciers
$167 million to 55
that are melting.
Local law enforcement agencies. We deployed crime suppression teams. We deployed them in Bakersfield. We deployed them in San Francisco. We deployed them in San Bernardino, in Oakland, and recently, because of the tragedy, the shooting in Stockton, we deployed them there. We're supporting local law enforcement. We're also supporting, with the help of the California Highway Patrol, a force that's been bolstered by the addition of 1,000 new officers. And here are the results. Here are the results. We have seen double-digit decreases in crime overall in the state of California. Property crime. Property crime down, aggravated assault down, car theft down, burglary down, robbery down, violent crime down. California cities are seeing record low homicide rates. Oakland, the lowest homicide rates since 1967.
Damn,
LA,
Nick, you might have been right
the lowest since 1966.
A little bit.
My old town, San Francisco.
Look, he's saying crime is down. There is no way he's going to say crime's down due to ICE. You know? There's no way he says that.
1954. 1954. Okay.
I don't know.
Again, we got more work to do, but to those with that California derangement syndrome, I'll repeat, it's time to update your talking points.
California derangement syndrome. CVS.
You guys have been working hard at this. No one's walked away from public safety. You guys have been leaning into public safety. We didn't turn a blind eye to this. We invested in it. We did the hard work. We didn't sit by and moralize it. We didn't talk about it. We leaned in. You leaned in. And you're producing real results all throughout the state of California.
It's close to Leering Center. That is very close.
Well, California remains the most blessed and often cursed place on earth. Profound natural beauty, prosperity, profound natural disasters, testing our spirit, testing our resources. I want to close with two things here.
Close.
I was down in Belém in Brazil at COP30 recently. It was a climate conference.
All right, we'll go with this.
By the way,
we'll go no immigrant.
The U.S., nowhere to be found. We were a footnote. The United States was a footnote. China, close to 800 delegates. United States, not one. Not even a note taker.
I like no Maduro.
I want to remind everybody, China today manufactures industrial policy.
A little couple no's as he said he's about to just finish.
They're flooding the global market with increasingly high quality and inexpensive cars.
Cars?
I just want to say this clearly. So it explains a little bit about our rationale. This is not about green power. This is about economic power. They are dominating the space. They're locking in markets. They're locking in supply chains. They're locking their influence all across the globe. They're cleaning our clock. But in California, we're not bystanders. We've already seen 7 times more clean energy jobs than fossil fuel jobs in the state of California.
Yeah, he's gonna
and last year alone, the 4th largest economy in the world, using 100% clean energy. 4th largest economy in the world was run on 100% clean energy for at least a part of 9 out of 10 days. Think about that. It's unprecedented. Unprecedented. Almost 9 out of 10 days. 2/3 today, 2/3 of our energy comes from clean sources. Solar, hydro, comes from wind, and geothermal comes from nuclear power. And just last year, finally,
what a dodge.
California finally ended its use of any coal-fired power.
Oh my God, I'm gonna fuck myself here with the oil, huh?
We're in the how business. We're proud to be in the how business, and we understand something that increasingly people are starting to understand, at least people that are open to argument, interested in evidence. That climate risk is financial risk. That climate risk is becoming uninsurable.
All right, fuck it.
That's why in California we're making our homes and communities more resilient.
Fuck oil, fuck Maduro.
That's why we're
going even
with
harder.
Our insurance commissioner. A lot of work to do here. Talk about grace. Working with our insurance commissioner.
Oh shit!
To protect homeowners from unpredictable rate increases and cancellations. Became the first state. You, together. We became the first state in the country to require insurers to lower insurance for home hardening upgrades. That is not the case in any other state. And in the last few months, this is important, in the last few months, 6 insurance companies announced their commitment to remain in or expand coverage here in California. Again, a lot more work to do.
A lot more work.
That was important. That was an important milestone. You saw it, Farmers and Mercury and some of the AAA affiliates. Important milestone. But more work to do. Fully implement the commitments we laid out in the sustainable insurance strategy, and more work to do to hold insurance companies accountable for meeting their obligation to insure in high-risk areas throughout the state of California.
Selling your yes ice was decent though, Nick. At that point.
I want to end with this. I was down in L.A. yesterday. Got back last night.
He's
Those
ending.
Insurance stories.
You just got through a little oil
self-evidently
dodge there.
Front and center with those survivors that I met. And let me remind everybody, I think it's important. I want to remind everybody what happened a year ago. Put it in perspective. Between January 7th and January 22nd, 48,000 acres burned, the size of 3 Manhattans. 3. Communities torn asunder, Palisades, Altadena, Malibu, Pasadena's. Fires took the lives of 31 people.
Was this not a lock?
31. Destroyed 16,000 structures. On the sober
I was so
anniversary,
surprised when I came back and I saw that.
not only right that we honor the lives lost, but we also honor the lives of some of the remarkable heroes and leaders, the first responders and firefighters that faced unimaginable conditions.
I was so surprised when I came back and I saw wildfire didn't hit yet. I was like, that was the biggest fucking story of the state. Here, we'll refresh. Come on. What happened? Come on. Give me my Gavin. Never thought I'd say that, but come on. What's going on?
Working in the arena, the theater of fires.
Don't know why the
16
embedded's
plus
not working.
large-scale fires. Remarkable. It was a firestorm, I'll remind you, in the middle of winter. Hurricane force winds attached to a fire. What they did, I don't need to say it, you just demonstrated, was miraculous, was heroic. They battled these impossible conditions in the wind and in the dark, flying dangerous night missions over the firestorm. CAL FIRE, as you saw a moment ago, is in the audience, but you know who else was up there? And thank you for applauding the community groups and the business owners. And most importantly, can you just stand up? And I'd ask you all to stand up again. The survivors of the Eaton and Palisades fires. Would you all just stand up? And thank you for your courage. Thank you for your resiliency. Thank you for your strength. We haven't forgotten about you. We won't forget about you. You said we had your back, and we mean it. Thank you.
All right, this is wrapping up, Shirley.
It's always difficult sometimes to talk about this because we were in roundtables, Jen, members of my administration yesterday talking to survivors, and it's called comfort when you say we have the fastest debris removal in U.S. history, which is true. Fact. We provided mortgage relief. You provided $2.5 billion of grants and funding. I've signed 27 executive orders. You've passed dozens and dozens of bills to reduce time, reduce red tape to allow survivors to rebuild much more quickly. And it is true, at this time, 14,000 structures in the Paradise Fire. There were only 385 permits, 16,000 structures, with over 2,500 permits in LA. But it doesn't mean anything if you're not one of the beneficiaries of that. And so we recognize that it's not good enough. And it's not nearly good enough. And that's why we need to do more to turbocharge the efforts to rebuild these communities. And that's why I'll be asking you, and it's in the budget we'll provide tomorrow, to focus on a new rebuilding fund that will help close the gap. This is the biggest challenge. Close the gap between insurance payouts and the cost of rebuilding. This will help get survivors back in their homes much, much faster.
Turning into a college football chant, bro.
But I'd be remiss. I'd be remiss. Contrast these efforts with the President of the United States.
Trump. Uh-oh, is he getting ice here?
Contrast these efforts to Donald Trump's. His complete failure to act. He's even refusing to send a disaster recovery request to Congress of $33.9 billion. By the way, that request supported by every member of the California delegation. Every Democrat, every Republican. We lost someone I thought was a wonderful human being, Doug LaMalfa. I was engaging with him on water policy just last week. Doug had our back. Doug was there in the first round. Doug met with us. Doug said, we don't play politics with this. It's time for the President of the United States to act like the President of the United States, all the United States of America, to fulfill his promises that he made to deliver for the people of Los Angeles. It's time for the President of the United States to do his job, not turn his back on Americans that happen to live in the great state of California. He was there. We were there for you in Paradise. The United States of America. The United States of America. Yes. No doubt these are challenging times. It's not just because of the fires, not just because you get to the federalization of the National Guard or the assault
National
on our democratic
Guard!
norms and
Oh,
institutions.
wow.
And yet,
Wow.
I think it was one of our finest. Because hardship doesn't
Gavin,
really wound us, it
Gavin with
reveals
the
us.
buzzer
The story of
beater
California has never
on
been
the
a story of
ice
ease.
by hitting
A story of
National
effort,
Guard.
strengthened by trial and enlarged by the people who refuse to give up on one another. We built something that is not perfect,
What the hell,
not
Gavin?
finished, but it's real, always moving forward.
Gavin with the little buzzer
like
beater.
the rivers
Good thing I didn't
that
bite no
define
on
our
that one, huh?
landscape. Our people themselves are unstoppable. We're home to more Americans than any other state.
Oh, shit.
Culture, food, music, AI, biotech, quantum computing, agriculture, all happens here first. We don't run from change, we drive it.
All right, I'm buying it.
And we're proving that inclusive democracy works. We're proving that expanding human
I'm
rights
buying
works.
immigrant.
We're proving that legal immigration works. And we're proving that a progressive tax structure works. California's
shit.
never been about perfection.
Okay.
We're about persistence, the courage of our convictions, and the strength to embody them. That's
Well,
the
that was
California
no.
way. And it lights the
I
path
bought it
for the
2
rest
seconds
of the world.
before he said
The
it.
work we do, the work you do, building a California where every person can see themselves is never ending.
Whatever.
And so we continue on. Because years from now, we can tell our children we did not settle for the world as it was. We can say with pride, we built something worthy of them. We built the future. Thank you all very, very much. Thank you to this legislature for your remarkable leadership. Thank you.
Yeah. When bonding goes wrong. When bonding goes, I mean, to be fair, it's at 60 cents, bro. He only had a minute left on his speech. He literally only had a minute left, and he still was able to hit it. Fair enough, bro. Whoever put those bids up for why, you fooled me. You got one on me. Fuck you, Gavin. God damn it. Like, imagine this is my bank account, and then this is my bank account without fucking immigration, man. Well, with the 2 buzzer beaters, bro. All right, Gavin. Well, I think that's
We
it
thank
for
you,
now.
Governor Newsom. Without objection, the Governor's State of State address shall be printed in the Journal as a special appendix.
Special appendix. Decent State of the State address, though, I guess, from Gavin. That one was pretty fucking stupid, buying that immigrant. At least there's 20 shares, though. Only 20 shares. At least I didn't bond it. I could have bonded it. It could have gone way worse. That's okay. Well, that's an okay morning, then. Our morning consisted of Gavin Newsom, State of the State address. He said democracy, so that was cool. We made about $30 there. Caroline's press briefing. We made about $70 there on no Somali, no Greenland. Nanhayu, not to go out. Where's JD? Where's our JD stuff? Or is it pending? Is it already complete? Our JD Vance, though, we also made 30. What happened in that marketing? What the hell? Where is it? Mentions. Where's this JD market? Am I tripping? Where's this JD press briefing? Oh, here we go. Finally, JD press briefing. $80 on that one. So that's decent. We will take that. $80 on JD, $70 on Caroline, and $30 on Gavin. That's about $150 day. $150 morning. There's still more to go. What else is there? Some sports balls and Trump Fox News, which will probably is on Sean Hannity. It might be completely, fraud going up that high. I don't know. It might be data mine though, if that makes sense. It might be a pre-recorded segment that comes out for Hannity. I don't know. It didn't seem like JD's yesterday was insidered, so I'll say that. That's good for this event though, because if JD's isn't insidered, this one might not be. I don't know. It's Hannity. It might be live. Might not. I have to look at it. Probably not though. It's probably all pre-recorded. And then we have Rachel Maddow on Jimmy Kimmel. My favorite lesbian. There we go. All right. W though. W Day made about $150 on all these events. Caro, JD, Gavin. It's like we're already in 2028. Look at that. It's like we're already gearing up for the midterms. All right. I will see you all later. I might do this Trump one. I don't know. It depends on how legitimate of a regime the Fox News Hannity regime is. You know, if they're actually going to play by the rules, or are they going to air something that they recorded 3 weeks ago? I'd probably rather not. But i.e. Kennedy Center honors. Okay. But Walz is a lock. Let's be honest. Walz is a lock, low IQ is a lock, and seriously retarded as a lock. He's going to call all of those things about Tim Walz. He's going to say all of those. He's going to say Tim Walz is retarded and I love cocaine. But we got to stop it coming into our country, although it is cool. So, don't know. Maybe California. We hit on JD there, so. All right.